This is TWiT.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. The training industry's completion rate is barely 30%. ACI Learning blows its competitors away with an over 80% completion rate. Don't settle for subpar, boring training. This is what IT pros want. Fill out the form at go.acilearning.com/twit for more information on a free 2-week training trial for your team. Reddit, which is owned by the massive magazine publisher Condé Nast, the people who publish The New Yorker, Vanity Fair, a bunch of other magazines, has announced that they're going to start charging, just as Twitter does, for their API access. And just as Twitter had, Reddit has quite a few of third-party clients that don't show the ads and allow people to change their experience on Reddit. This is one of them, Apollo. This is for iOS. This is what I use on
Great
iOS.
app.
Yep. Really, really nice. And the developer is very engaged. He encourages donations, but it's free, very powerful.
There's a paid version too. So there's a subscription, but it has like, I think 1.5 million users, and many of them are free. And then the people who do pay what he's charging, the new changes that Reddit is going to introduce will basically make it not sustainable, even charging.
So his name, Christian Selig, he was on a call. Now, unlike Elon, who just cut off third-party access and at first denied it, then said they broke the rules, then said, all right, yeah, we're cutting it off, which is by the way, it's his privilege. He didn't do it very nicely, but it's his privilege because it does undermine, the financial structure of Twitter, because ads are what pays for Twitter. So it's certainly within Condé Nast's power, and it's appropriate for them to say this. He talked to them. They have been, unlike Elon, talking to everybody. He talked to them, and they explained, well, I think it's $12,000 for 500,000 accesses. I can't remember what it was. He did some math, and based on the number of people that use Apollo, he said it's going to cost me $20 million a year to continue my app.
Huge mistake.
It's not sustainable. So if Twitter does this, it will put Apollo out of business, Joey out of business, a lot of third-party apps.
There's already a Mac app that I was using called Stellar that I paid for, actually, that has already announced that they are sunsetting it because they had kind of a freemium model, and they basically have said that they're not making enough money to be profitable to change the upcoming changes, because I personally don't have a problem with them charging for the API. I think the pricing is insane. Especially given the fact that so many of their power users who do a lot of free labor for them, like, this is unlike Twitter in the sense that most of the things that make Reddit work are the admin or the mods rather that are not paid. And many of them rely almost entirely on third-party tools because the regular Reddit tools are not equipped for their needs. And so
it raises an interesting question because, yes, they own Reddit. Condé Nast does. They can monetize it any way they choose. Yet, the content of Reddit, just like the content of Twitter, is created by its users for free. We post on Reddit, and that's what makes Reddit exist. And if users can't use third-party apps, many users are distraught. There is a boycott, or not a boycott exactly, a protest that's going to happen, I think, next month, where a lot of subreddits, the groups on Reddit, will go dark.
It's next week, I think.
Is it next week?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
We'll go dark for several days. And that will be interesting. That might show how important this is to people.
Well, I am, the one benefit of all of these things is that we are getting schooled in the kind of nastiest possible way about the dangers of centralized social media, corporate owned, and in bad guy owned in one case, social media making capricious and wildly counterproductive moves, and I think maybe Condé Nast is expecting that this was a ploy that they could then lower the price and get people to do it. I think they've made a kind of drastic error in this case.
No, I agree. Again, like, and Christian has even said, like, he, Quinn Nelson, Stazzy Q on YouTube did a great interview with him that went up on YouTube. I think it was yesterday. It's like 45 minutes long. And, he even said that he does think that it's fair that he pays, some of his profits essentially to Reddit. But the split that they're wanting is just not sustainable. And, to me, it would be much more honest if Reddit would just say, we don't want any third-party apps to exist. I mean, at least Elon did that. Like, I'm not going to give the guy credit for anything, but at least he was honest at the end. And Twitter as a company hadn't wanted third-party clients for a long time, even before, he took it over. But I think in Reddit's case, the problem is that, this really is a big part of how mods use their tools. And they'd gone from actively, encouraging and using and helping out the devs to this change. And I think that there are some devs who might not want to pay anything, and that's okay. Some would. But what's so odd to me is that they don't let the ad aspect into their API. And Twitter did the same thing. I get that you're saying, okay, we're losing out on impressions and this and that. Okay, so make that part of the API and make it a requirement that clients use it.
I don't think advertisers would support that for the same reason you don't see ads when you're watching YouTube or some other rebroadcast of local channels. They don't carry the ads because the advertisers say, no, that's not part of what we're paying for. So I think that's why they don't do that. I think that's advertiser mandated. I agree. It would be nice to be able to do that, but that's not going to happen. Advertisers they want to know exactly where their ad's going to be, and they want to know how to count that.
The basic thing going on is that the centralized sites they count on these third-party developers to help make them popular. And then the minute they have sufficient leverage, they cut them off.
Yeah, remember, even before Elon, Twitter did this once before.
Yes, twice before.
Twice before.
as an investor in one of the companies Twitter killed way back when, I've been schooled in this a number of times, but as a user, to hell with it, I'll just go over and do stuff somewhere else. I don't need the Twitter fame anymore.
That's the beauty of this, is there are many choices now. June 12th through 15th, here's the r/r/Samsung as an example. This subreddit will be going private June 12th through 15th in protest. Many subreddits will. And I think Condé will sit up and take notice. Maybe this is a negotiating ploy and they'll come back. In fact, they've already said, oh, no. We weren't going to charge him. We would never charge him $20 million. There'd be a way to do this. So maybe they'll come back with something. But I
hope so. It was interesting. There was something else spurred me to look into this. And I was just trying to think of who has the most expensive APIs. And I was shocked to look and discover that IMDb does now finally have an API, but their pricing is the most obscene API pricing I can recall seeing. So this is a relatively new thing I think that they've had, and their pricing on their API starts at $450,000 a month, and that's before usage.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is insane, because I think the reason I looked into this was that people were complaining about the new Max app, which is awful, and it didn't have a lot of the credits listed. And someone said, well, why aren't they just using the IMDb API? And then I was like, I had the same question, and then I looked into it and I was like, because David Zaslav is very cheap. That's why.
That's just saying, don't use this. That's
absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So the essential metadata, and this is for movies, TV, and over the top, is $150,000 plus metered costs. And then the complete data set is, the IMDb and Box Office Mojo for movies, TV, over the top is $400,000 a month plus metered costs.
Wow.
Pretty dumb.
Insane. IMDb is owned by Amazon, right?
Yeah, they've owned them for, I think, 20 years now at this point. Yeah.
Used to be. This is a perfect example there were a number of sites like this. CDDB was another one where users created it to put all they knew in there, like a wiki or whatever. And as soon as it gained critical mass, a company came in and bought them. And all the users said, wait, what? What? So again, a lesson learned. These, we're in late stage capitalism, folks. If somebody calls you screaming, they want your money.
Yes.
Okay. That's just the way it works.
Yep.
Let me take
Fortunately, I was just going to, the TVDB exists as an alternative. That's free.
Good. Yeah. That's the way to solve this. Just create and in fact, there's already a number of people creating Reddit clones, hoping that they can take advantage of this. We'll see.